I'm telling you, folks, the mood of the country is not with the Democrats on immigration. It continues to be more and more clear to me, and we'll get to it here in the show. Welcome to the What's Right Show, folks. Good to be with you as always. Sam@what'srightshow.com is my email. Getting to all your emails, I'm responding as fast as I can. I got a lot yesterday, I'm not going to lie, so appreciate that, and am responding to each and every one of you here as I can, as fast as I can. So, no, look, even the reasonable Democrats out there, there are a few, are openly questioning this radical opposition to any kind of border enforcement, which really seems to be the new de facto position of the Democratic Party. It is. There's a piece right now that, well, I got it right here. It's Substack writer Noah Smith. He's a liberal guy, and this is, I'll read the title of it here: "What a Liberal Immigration Enforcement Policy Might Look Like," and it's an attempt at reframing for Democrats the topic. I personally, I think good luck with this, right? Because the moderates have left the building. Moderate Democrats are Trump Republicans now. Okay, so you got that problem. But you're trying to put the toothpaste back in the tube. This is what Noah Smith argues for. And let me just hold on. I got it right here. So listen, there's some great points that he makes in this. He talks about how the Trump administration has overreached on immigration, right? And then this is what the Democrats think, right? This is the worldview or the perspective of Democrats, and that you've had 2 ICE shootings and an escalation, and now there's a bit of a back down, according to him, by the Trump people. And he goes, listen, this progress, okay, is progress, but it's possible the Democrats and especially progressives will take the wrong message from their first small victories in the battle against autocracy. Okay, so what might be the problems with this? Well, I'll read on. For one thing, the Minnesota anti-ICE protests are starting to show some signs of being taken over by the same kinds of radicals who made the 2020 BLM protests go overboard in Seattle, Portland, and he writes a few other cities. Yeah, no shit. This is exactly right. What have I been telling you? Let the crazies do crazy things. Put the adults back in the room. Bring Tom Homan in, as Trump has done. And by the way, the people that have blinked here, it's not Trump. It's not this administration. They are finally allowing in Minnesota, across multiple counties, not just the handful of Republican counties that exist, allowing ICE into jail. Homan describes this as unprecedented cooperation. The adults in the room have spoken. And Trump has, trust me on this, has Tim Walz and that whole band of fraud-addled Democrats by the nuts, collectively, all of them. And he's having his way with them as we speak. There's a story about 700 less agents, right, that they're pulling back some of their resources from Minnesota. The reason for that pullback, folks, is they don't have to go arrest criminal aliens out in the street. They don't have to do it anymore because they're getting cooperation finally. Well, I'm telling you now, this is a risk, right? I mean, I actually want the Democrats to be crazy. I want the Democrats to lose in November. And one thing that Noah Smith and a handful of other reasonable Democrats are now saying is like, whoa, 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 careful. The crazy people, let me read on. Some protesters in Minneapolis are setting up illegal checkpoints. Oh, I've played those clips. People saying, no, you can't pass here. You can't go to this protest. You can't walk here. Wait, it's a public street. Well, sorry, we're controlling who comes and goes. Can't do that. That's real authoritarianism by roving bands of unelected maggots. But regardless, others have been harassing various people. Leftist protesters have even denounced progressive activist Will Stansel, who was recently punched in the face. Yeah, of course, leftist on leftist violence. It's going to happen as everybody gets themselves all amped up. The point of this, they're beginning to panic. The reasonable people in the room, and there are not enough of them, are beginning to panic that this is not the way. They're worried, actually, that the midterms maybe will go for the Democrats. Maybe, right now, conventional thinking has it that the Democrats will at least gain control of the House of Representatives. And they're going, look, we're going to have a problem with that. But the bigger part of the story is, it's not just about tactics, it's core position. And the core position problem that the Democrats have is they believe in open borders. And the rest of America simply is not there. We aren't. I'll quote, "The other danger is that Dems will take a midterm victory," which, by the way, I don't presuppose this, but this is the writer of this article, "will take a midterm victory as a sign they don't need to recalibrate their position on the immigration issue." In a post 2 weeks ago, I pointed out that although they hate Trump's heavy-handed tactics, Americans still don't support the permissive immigration policies of the Biden years. We don't. Nobody wants to go back to that. The only risk, really, going into the midterms is that Americans will have forgotten how bad it was between 2021 and 2025. They will have forgotten how much crime there was, that all of these wins for Trump may end up making Republicans victims of their own success. I've said that repeatedly here on this program. Now, he goes through the polls and whatnot, but the fundamental problem is the Democrats just don't believe it. And the fundamental problem, this is the naivete that some of these writers and independent, liberal thinkers have, is that they think that this is an ideological issue when it's a core question of power. The Democratic Party has a business plan. Ideology and what people think and what people want is Care Bear stuff. It's unicorns, fairies, and elves. That's fantasy land for people like Noah Smith. The real world of the Democrats' business plan is you bring in as many people, you give them as much money as possible to ensure you're getting the right kind of immigrant, not for the country, but for the Democratic Party. The person that comes here has to need them, has to be in their back pocket, has to be incentivized and rewarded as a subservient serf of the left. That's what this is about. And this is where, there's some reasonable Democrats out there, nice people. And they go, well, yeah, whoa, this is not the Democratic Party was. This is why, by the way, folks, you go back in time and you pull out the old clips of Bill Clinton, and Bill Clinton's out of politics for the most part, right? But you've got Chuck Schumer. You have Chuck Schumer, who's still the top Democrat in the Senate all these years later. And you go back not that long ago, in my lifetime, in my adult life, you go back and he's talking about immigration, a hardliner, actually, by today's standards, a hardliner on immigration. Imagine that borders matter. And people love to pull these clips out and say, well, geez, what happened? Boy, they must have really changed their minds. And they talk about this shift in ideological terms. And I tell you, no, there was a new business plan that came out. The Democratic Party got together and said, you know what? We're going to boost our numbers in blue states. We are going to boost our voter rolls. We're going to get as many mail-in ballots. We're going to get as many illegals with photo ID. We're going to get them addresses. We're going to get them social security numbers. I mean, this whole thing had one purpose and one purpose only: to deliver votes, to deliver wins, to deliver and maintain power. And everything else is for the birds, as they say. All right, quick break. I got lots going on, top 5 here. I just needed to get this off my chest because, and I got support for this, but I have support for everything that I just said, so just buckle up, folks. Big show today. Sam Mirejovsky on the What's Right Media Network. This hour of the program brought to you by Sam and Ash Injury Law, because you deserve what's right.
I'm the best.
Personal injury law has been the same for a long time.
The best.
Big egos, greed, and sleazy schemes. We've had enough. Welcome to Sam and Ash, the new standard for personal injury law, where things are done the right way, because you deserve a team that delivers real support and results. When you have both, your whole world can change. Sam and Ash Injury Law, because you deserve what's right.
Hi, Sam Mirejovsky here behind the What's Right microphone. Folks, a word about what to do if you've been injured. Any kind of injury, right? You don't want to do this on your own. You want to get good legal advice from a reputable, strong, and powerful firm. Now, I tell you, it could be something as simple and straightforward as a car accident. Unfortunately, they happen all the time. There's people out there driving without licenses. They're driving without insurance. There are people on the road who don't even know what gender they are. And they get confused and they make the wrong turn. They hit you. And now, and you don't even realize it in the beginning, now for the next several months, your life is upside down. You're dealing with the fallout. You try doing it on your own. You go to the insurance company, palms up. You say, this is what I've got. This is what happened to me. I have these bills. This is what happened to my car. And you expect to get taken care of. You expect them to treat you fairly. Well, not so fast. They'll send you through all the paperwork, all the phone calls, back and forth, dealing with all that nonsense. And at the end of the day, you're still going to be thousands of dollars short. Happens all the time. Call Sam and Ash Injury Law. In a crash, call Sam and Ash. I like that slogan, came up with it, but it's other injuries too. And the most important thing, it doesn't cost you any money. It's a free consultation. You hire us, there's no money up front. You get paid on the end, out of the settlement, and you're still miles ahead of where you would be on your own. So very simple, 800-304-2000. Offices in Nevada and California, 800-304-2000. That's the number. A quick phone call. Turn it over to Sam and Ash. Just get it one of our teams here to help you out with it. And it's done. You don't have to worry about it. You're covered. And you can go on living your life. Sam and Ash Injury Law. samandashlaw.com, because you deserve what's right. Okay. Folks, let's get to the top 5 here before producer Robbie scowls at me anymore than he already has. There's a handful of things cooking right now, and I want to get to all of them. So number 5, the top 5 things going on, there's an attack on X, French politics. They're saying it's over child pornography and other violations. Make no mistake about it. There's a concerted attack on free speech on X in particular across Europe. Similar actions being taken in Spain as well. So keep your eyes on this. This is, just the globalists in death, throes, and they are trying everything they can to forestall the inevitable, which is, of course, that people are going to rise up against this left-wing globalist nonsense. Number 4, sheriff probes a possible ransom in the disappearance of Nancy Guthrie. This is Savannah Guthrie's mom. This is a wild story. She's 84 years old. She lives in Arizona. And it seems that she just was abducted in the middle of the night over the weekend. So a number of media outlets are saying there's a ransom note that was demanded. So maybe somebody who knew that this particular lady living by herself was the daughter of a wealthy, famous media personality, and that it's a crime that was planned, multiple people involved. Millions of dollars are being apparently demanded in Bitcoin. So police are investigating this. Number 3, the Clintons, speaking of Bill Clinton, mentioned him briefly in my open today. The Clintons are going to come in and testify to the House in the matter of Epstein. This actually could be huge, again, because they're going to be under oath. So they have to either tell the truth, which I don't think is going to be particularly great for Bill, or he's going to lie. And if if the evidence available contradicts him, then Bill Clinton has got a problem. And we all know that Bill Clinton has a very loose relationship with the truth. Number 2, the would-be attempted Trump assassin Ryan Routh, sentenced to life in prison. So that's it. Judge Eileen Cannon sentenced Routh to spend the rest of his life in prison for attempting to assassinate President Donald Trump on his Florida golf course. This was back in September of 2024. You remember this. Judge Eileen Cannon, incidentally, is the same judge that dismissed the Jack Smith prosecution of Trump down in Florida. So Eileen Cannon, very busy lady in the world of Trump over the past couple of years. And number 1 top news story, I am beyond excited about this, folks. President J.D. Vance is going to lead a new anti-fraud task force. This was reported this morning, that apparently will expose fraud in California and multiple other states. This, according to CBS News. Trump is expected to sign an executive order making Vance the task force chairman. This is a huge story. They're going to go nuts on this. And the more Democrat fraud they discover, the better. And it's an attack directly on that Democrat business plan I keep talking about. I think that's how I'm going to phrase it from now on. Because there's ideology. We all have ideology. We have ideas of how things ought to be. And they're based on principles. And I get frustrated talking to people with a different opinion. And they say, well, I want to discuss our ideas. And I said, well, let's talk about ideas. Let's talk about specifically immigration. I said, okay. I said, well, what do you believe? Well, I believe, we ought to be more humane. And we need immigrants. Immigrants are a good thing. Now, setting aside the humane aspect of it, I think it's very inhumane to allow people to make an arduous and unsafe trek across an unprotected border into this country, risking life and limb and sexual exploitation. I just don't think that's humane at all. So I always like to talk about that. But on the subject of immigration, I agree. I always say, by the way, this is a great point of fact, to win arguments, you always reach out and you find a point of agreement. So I say, I agree. I'm pro-immigrant. I'm an America First pro-immigrant guy. Because, Kevin O'Leary's from Canada. Somebody argue that we shouldn't have Kevin O'Leary here. There are a lot of immigrants that bring enormous value. There's hardworking immigrants in this country. Some are billionaires, okay, but some are just, brilliant scientists or whatever, right? They have a value. But there's something that they have inherently in common, right? They've come here to work. They've come here for the American dream, which to them, as they define it, is building something of value, getting a great job, buying a house, putting their kids through college, contributing to society in positive ways, paying their taxes. And again, whether it's entrepreneurship or gainful employment, they are contributors within our economy. The Biden era saw an unprecedented amount of people being lured here. And there's no other way of really putting it, being lured here with the promise of getting free money. Every news story that you saw, whether it was in America or it was in Europe, Great Britain, of the migrant hotel. Oh, we had a 4-star hotel that used to cost, $250, $300 a night. And now it's being given away to migrants. And these contracts that the government made with these hotels. Remember New York? Remember how many people were being put up in hotels in New York? And you learned about neighborhoods that were just going to hell because they were. And my parents, themselves, immigrants, 1977, come to this country, and they're looking at it. There's like, where the hell was our hotel? Where was our 4-star hotel? How come we didn't get put up in a? Where was our $32,000 per couple per family? Signing bonus for being a pawn in the Democrats' business plan. Where was our bonus for any of that? It's literally. All right, don't go anywhere. Be right back. Rarely wrong, always right. Sam Mirejovsky here behind the What's Right microphone, folks. Hope everybody is safe out there. It's the most important thing. Well, we're a hell of a lot safer in the second year of our Lord and Savior Donald J. Trump. Just kidding. I'm being blasphemous. But no, really. These crime figure drops, I don't think we appreciate it. Do we appreciate good news? Do we? This is an important check-in. Because we get hung up. When are the arrests coming? We haven't, begun hanging the traitors yet from the overpasses. And we get all upset that things aren't moving as fast as we want them to. And yet, when you look at the drop in crime, you look at the safety numbers, you look at the number of accidents happening on the road, you look at all of the data, it objectively tells a really good story. Turns out that rounding up and catching 1 million or so, plus minus, illegal immigrant criminal thugs and sending them to a supermax prison in El Salvador was a jolly good idea. But then again, you and I knew this. Turns out that crime, when met with punishment, subsides. Tom Homan, he held a press conference today. I told you this guy is a killer. Tom Homan, he is now basically leading the efforts in Minnesota. And you notice things are starting to get a little bit better there. This is him announcing this morning that Minnesota jails are now cooperating with ICE. He's calling this unprecedented cooperation.
We currently have an unprecedented number of counties communicating with us now and allowing ICE to take custody of illegal aliens before they hit the streets. Unprecedented cooperation. And I'll say it again. This is efficient, requires only 1 or 2 officers to assume custody of a criminal alien target rather than 8 or 10 officers going into the community and arresting that public safety threat. This frees up more officers to arrest or remove criminal aliens. More officers taking custody of criminal aliens directly from the jails means less officers on the street doing criminal operations. This is smart law enforcement, not less law enforcement. It's safer for the community, safer for the officers, and safer for the alien.
Bingo. It's exactly right. 1 or 2 officers down from 8 to 10. Can you imagine at scale how many more deportations can happen? Now, people have been saying out there, well, you see, the deal that was cut was to let ordinary non-criminal aliens remain in the U.S., and Trump has caved. Tom Homan, who I have never known to lie or to BS, said this about continuing efforts to deport all illegal immigrants in the U.S.
For those who are not a national security threat or public safety risk, you are not exempt from immigration enforcement actions. If you're in the country illegally, you are not off the table. And let me be clear, President Trump fully intends to achieve mass deportations during this administration, and immigration enforcement actions will continue every day throughout this country. President Trump made a promise, and we have not directed otherwise. I heard rumors we have, untrue. Given that many public safety threats on our communities, many of which poured across the border during the Biden administration, it makes sense to prioritize public safety risk right now. Again, prioritization doesn't mean you forget about everybody else. But we have a criminal here, a non-criminal here. The criminal has to be arrested first because they're the biggest threat to the community.
Folks, I'm just going to tell you this. As an, operationally, and I would describe, I describe Tom Homan as the COO of the Department of Homeland Security. Like, this guy is your operations person. Like, for example, in my firm, right, at Sam & Ash, I have a role as, the head of the firm, but I have a COO that is a hard-nosed operator. By the way, a former military guy, veteran. And he has a very important role, but he keeps us on the rails. And it's very important. And Tom Homan is this person, but he exudes such calm, steady, and unapologetic professionalism in his role that I think the more we see of Tom Homan, the better for Republicans in the midterms. Certainly the better for Trump's poll numbers, which is going to be to some extent a driving factor in the midterms. Now, I'm bringing this up because it's all about the midterms right now. We are getting close, less than 40 weeks out. So, yeah, I know it's a political eternity, but it's going to come here quick. I mean, who knows? We're already in February, folks, and I feel like New Year's Eve was like 3 days ago. So I bring this up because it's important. Now, I'll tell you what, this is where the Democrats in Congress are going to scream a lot, and this is why I'm so disappointed in Senate Republicans that 20 Senate Republicans voted to continue to extend billions of dollars of welfare to illegals. Because to me, incentives matter, right? And one of the things Trump is doing, this argument about the prioritization. I happen to agree that I agree with Homan. I think it's important to get out the criminals because I always think about it in terms of me and my family. In my city, in the city of Las Vegas, I don't want any criminal aliens on the street whatsoever. And if they've got to pick between a guy who's not a criminal guy and a criminal guy, get the criminal out first. My family will be safer. And simultaneously, you're much more likely to get hits for the $2,600 self-deportation offer, right? The $2,600 bonus to people to self-deport through the CBP1 app. It costs money, right? It's a cost, but it's a lot less than forcing somebody out the door. I mean, I guess it's maybe 17,000 to maybe over 70,000, depending on the person. To the cost of deportation. But here's the flip side to this, right? So migrants, if they're receiving welfare, is that $2,600 bonus really all that much? I mean, if they're getting $2,000, or more a month, how's a one-time $2,600 payment really much of anything? It's an important point. The biggest problem we have, I keep coming back to this, the biggest problem that we have with immigration is giving money and creating an incentive for people to come to this country just to fleece us. What's in it for me? I'm going to come to America, I'm going to get my money. No, that's not who we are. And every lib that tells us that America was built on immigrants, my answer to that is yes, the immigrants that came to this country to work, to build, to innovate. Contributors came. They had zero expectations, zero, of getting any kind of public benefits. In fact, they came here oftentimes at great expense, at great demotion of their own standing. Doctors left from faraway lands to be janitors in the United States. They came here clearly not for the money. They came here for the freedom. They came here for the idea of America. But those are the immigrants the Democrats don't want, right? we get too many business owners and self-employed people and W-2 workers, whatever. Yet anybody here who believes in freedom is escaping a tyrannical regime. That person is going to listen to Democrats talking about Trump being a Nazi, like, and then proceed as soon as they take their oath as a U.S. citizen, immediately proceed to go vote for Republicans for the rest of their lives. I mean, I grew up in a neighborhood of middle class, upper middle class in California, a lot of immigrants. And most of them were pretty conservative, particularly those that came from Eastern Europe. My gosh. Very conservative. So I mean, this to me is I'm cynical. I'm jaded about this, but I know exactly what it is. I keep calling this the Democrats' business plan of how they take over America, and their plan is very simple. They're putting as many people into the country. They tried this under Biden. They go, look, we've got a president who's not with us. He's drooling from the side of his mouth. He's in it for the ice cream cones. Now is our opportunity. And that whole cabal of people that ran the Biden administration knew exactly what they were doing. Get as many of these takers, moochers, fraud artists into the country. And hell, we can skim some money off the top and guarantee that we never lose another election. Sam Mirejovsky here on the What's Right Media Network. This hour of the program brought to you by Sam & Ash Injury Law. Well, I mentioned Chuck Schumer earlier. Yeah, once upon a time, Democrats had a very different tone when it came to immigration. They did. They didn't. Look, if you allow, and Frank Luntz said this today. Frank Luntz, not a particularly hyper-conservative, he's a never-Trumper Republican. Okay. Frank Luntz said, if you allow all aliens, non-criminal aliens specifically, if you allow them to stay in the country, you effectively have an open border. And that's not where the mood of the country is. Sam Mirejovsky here behind the What's Right microphone. Folks, as always, great to be here with you. So, let's play this. What is this, 1996? Okay, I was in high school. This is Sam in high school, vintage Chuck Schumer. Same voice, same male pattern baldness, same insufferability, but sounding almost like Trump.
This is an anti-fraud amendment. Over where we go, people say, well, why can't you stop illegal immigrants or others from coming here? And the number one answer we give our constituents is when they come here, they can get jobs, get benefits against the law because of fraud. And here, the gentleman from Florida has put together the most effective anti-fraud measure we can find without it changing the actions of the government one bit. And we find all this opposition. Ladies and gentlemen of this chamber, what I worry about is that this bill, which started out with good intentions, whether you agree with it or disagree with it, is going to end up being the same kind of thing that the public gets angry with us on. We say we're doing something, and we do nothing. Because every time someone makes a rational and small proposal to get something done, people say, well, what about this hypothetical, that hypothetical, etc. I urge support of this amendment. If you believe you want to stop fraud in immigration, you have no choice but to support this amendment.
By the way, that was a speech delivered from the floor of the House of Representatives back when Chuck Schumer was representing New York as a congressman. I mean, this is, yeah, I'm speechless. This is Chuck Schumer openly advocating for legislation that would severely restrict fraud by illegal immigrants. I mean, yeah, you wouldn't hear that from him today. And I know people's opinions change. I certainly have had some of my positions change over time. but that my thinking, like my core beliefs, like for example, on the subject of immigration, have never changed since I was 16 years old. Never. I believe I was upset with Republicans I remember this as a college Republican when Lindsey Graham would give away the store every time he folded, and Rush would call him Lindsey Grahamnesty, and I'd just chuckle and love it, But I was pissed. I was looking back as I began reading about the Reagan presidency and going to an era sort of that I had missed. I was alive during that time, but quite young, and realizing all the concessions that the Reagan and Bush Republicans made over and over and over again, caving on immigration. And look, and I'm not saying the only thing that changed is that the Democratic Party got in a room and their COO said, this is how we're going to win elections. And we're going to fling open wide the door to the border, they'll raise the gate, lower our defenses, allow an invasion, and then fast track them to legalization, quasi-legalization, which was all those deferred removals. Also giving people Social Security numbers that weren't yet citizens. That happened en masse. We know that now. The entire thing was an absolute scheme whose intent of which was to ensure that Democrats had more representation in the House, in the Senate, and ultimately would be more likely to win presidential elections because of the way the Electoral College worked. And I think that's one of the ironies. I'll tell you something. I have not heard anybody say this. Isn't it ironic that the same people, Democrats, that rant and rave about the Electoral College and about how it needs to be done away with and whatnot, are also the ones that were actively gaming the system to win the Electoral College? Because again, apportionment of Electoral College votes matters based on population, roughly, right? Districts. And so when you throw in a million immigrants here and a million immigrants there and a million there, and it's like, because a million people can make a big difference. 6 electoral votes in Nevada, right? 6. But they can decide the outcome of an election. We are a swing state. Now you throw, what do we have? We have 4 million people. Throw in 500,000 illegals that you control. You control not even all of them. You control 350,000 of them. In a state of 4 million, that can change the outcome of every election. That's what you need to realize. But it's just so obvious. It's so obvious. Now, here's the good news. The Democrat, they're making arguments for their business plan that are ideological and people aren't buying it. That's the good news. That's my number one sort of big picture of what I love about what's going on. That the Democrats have tried to push this, have tried to sell it, and they made a terrible mistake. Because they were in such a rush to get it done, they really didn't vet anybody. Now, hear me out. This is where they shot themselves in the foot. And by getting so many bad people in the mix, where I think the number has got to be easily 1 in 4. 1 in 4 illegals that came here during Biden was a criminal. Okay. That's a big mix. It could even be higher. I wouldn't dispute numbers that say 1 in 2. So many criminals, and some of them dangerous. And they came in and they raped, they killed, they stole, they did terrible things. And people saw it, they felt it, they were affected by it. But the media, in cahoots with the Democratic Party, kept telling us there's no there, right? It doesn't happen, Sam. It's not real. It's just a conspiracy theory. It's Pizzagate. It's whatever. And, the reality is that people felt it. People felt it. They felt the crime. They were affected by the crime. They knew somebody that was affected by the crime. They'd been affected by the crime themselves. I got burglarized in Las Vegas, likely, as we found out, likely by a gang operating illegals in the country, overstaying their visas, organized criminal gang. Just a pattern of it. And based on other evidence. Right? So it affected me. When it happens to you or somebody it starts to get personal, and you can have all the media in the world tell you it's not happening, and you're like, I don't think so. Now, you know what happened today in D.C.? Literal murder. Speaking of violent crime, murder on in the House of Representatives. I got to tell you, I think Scott Bessent is my new favorite person. What he did to these Democrats from Maxine Waters on down is something to behold. I'll give you the highlights when we come back. Sam Mirejovsky here on the What's Right Media Network. Making radio great again. Sam Mirejovsky here, your host, your favorite person. Rarely wrong, always right, here on the What's Right Media Network, sam@whatsrightshow.com. That's my email. Send me an email. I read every single email myself, okay? And if you've got a question about how to enter the digital era, and I'm not get your point, I'm talking about the show. If you aren't getting the program on your phone or on your computer, you're doing it all wrong. If you're listening to me on the radio, I'm glad you're here, but most of us are online. And it's a lot easier than you'd think. And the sound quality, the audio quality is perfect. And some of the apps, like Spotify, it's free. You can get me there free. It's not a subscription. Some of the apps you can just you can have video too, so you get to look at me and all the clips that I play are video clips. So it adds to the experience. But if you're in the car, you just connect your phone and or put it on speaker, and you can roll the tape whenever you want. What's Right Show? Find us there. Was just thinking over the break here, talking with producer Robbie about Democrat denialism. Another big one was the child trans cases. Because there's a big story today in the Washington Post that the American Society of Plastic Surgeons said doctors should delay gender-related surgeries until age 19. This is a huge U-turn. And remember, there was the big $2 million award, in my opinion, as a lawyer, not a big enough award, but nonetheless an award for a gal named Fox Varian who got just brutalized by the trans, industrial complex. No other way of putting it. And but the Democrats kept telling us, no, there's no harm to kids. No, this is good. This is gender affirming care. This is the right thing to do. And I just think most of America was like, no. So it's just, this is why they want ministries of truth, right? Because they want to sell to the public things that the public is not down with. You and I, we're logical people. When I do this program and I give you an opinion, it's my opinion. You can take it or leave it. But what I try to do here, I really honestly do, I try to give you the reasons for why I have a certain opinion and why I think the way I think. This is very important. What I think the left is doing is telling you how to think and then scolding you if you think differently. Oh, no, of course. Robbie's nodding, but no, I'm like, oh, you think that 12-year-olds shouldn't be medically transitioned? Then you're a transphobe. Right? By the way, speaking of these devices, the Democrats use the constant, name calling, right? You're a transphobe, you're a bigot, you're a homophobe, all that. The homophobe part reminds me of something here. So Scott Bessent, who is rapidly becoming my favorite gay man. Okay, still happily married, Sherry. Don't worry. I'm just telling you, I'm kind of hot for Scott Bessent. Based on what he is doing in D.C., this man is a killer. He's our Treasury Secretary. He's our what, Rob? What, you're laughing? I'm just kidding. I'm just telling you. I like what he did on the Hill today. But the transphobe or the homophobe comment, because of course Scott Bessent is a married gay man. If you don't know this, he's married to a man. He's gay and he has kids. But, you don't have to be gay and retarded, so he's a Republican. And a great member, and incidentally, a tremendous Treasury Secretary, and great member of this administration. So, but remember in Davos, Switzerland, the globalist summit, the big, get-together of all the elites. And Newsom, breezed in there. Now, by the way, Newsom comes across, can I say this? I see this whole segment's going to get me into hot water. Newsom, to me, comes across way more gay than Scott Bessent. Okay? Like, if I had them both in a room and I was looking at them, I'd be like, that's the gay guy, and I'd be pointing at Newsom. So, Newsom's the guy who brought the knee pads. And Newsom kept, all the Trump knee pads, like for all the leaders that were on their knees in front of Trump, but this also has a sexual connotation. No, I mean, it does. And so, anyway, Bessent was just constantly ribbing and making fun of Newsom in every interview he did. And he was using all this kind of coded gay language. There's no other way of putting it, but he was doing all that. And, Newsom could never respond because the libs are so stuck in this prison that they've created, right? You can't criticize a gay man for gay stuff because that means you would be thereby a anti-gay person, a homophobe, which is now you're basically a Trump Republican. So so he couldn't respond, and Bessent just kept putting in these little digs. The guy is whip smart. Absolutely whip smart. And that played out today in Washington. The Democrats were so hard trying to get Bessent to admit something. And the problem is they're all mental midgets. These people, they're all mental, they're dummies. So it started with Joyce Betty, who is a Democrat from Ohio. And she was trying to go back and forth and she's giving him these ridiculous questions that aren't yes or no questions. Like, there just are questions that are not yes or no questions. And he kept trying to give an answer, which is what you have to do when you're getting grilled by morons. You have to give them the actual answer. You can't play the game that they're trying to play. Well, it quickly went off the rails. Here you go.
Of appropriated funds, Treasury will be.
Is this going to be a yes or no?
Program award.
Mr. Secretary.
No.
I'm going to abide by the chairman's rules, but I have some rules. You can say yes or no, and then if you say yes, you may continue to give that support. If it's a no, then you tell me why not. And now we need to be clear. Yes, let's start with the yes or no. I'm trying to be respectful, but you're not going to do what you want to do on my time. Yes or no, or you can say I'm not going to answer it. Now move on.
Number 3.
Okay, so let the record show that he refuses to answer a question. No, we're not going to do that with me. We are not going to do that with me.
It's the gentlewoman's time from Ohio.
Now, you opted for number 3, so you get to hear my wrath.
Then she went on to berate him, but she's burning up her limited time to ask questions, so it just devolved. Then came after that mess, came Stephen Lynch. Now, this clip has gone viral, but Lynch is from Massachusetts, so, this is this is like a hardcore liberal guy. Listen to this back and forth.
The Biden administration had an extinction.
Sir, please be responsive to my question.
I am trying, sir, and this back and forth is just eating your time, that the Biden administration had an extinction policy for crypto
This
assets.
is when Trump came into office. I'm going to go to the next question because your answers on, Mr. Chairman, the answers have to be responsive if we're going to have a serious hearing here.
Well, the questions have to be serious.
Well, those are 100 dismissals of cases that the Trump administration came in and executed in their first weeks in office, like that. All of a sudden, all these crypto cases went away. The SEC was dropping cases. The Consumer Financial Protection Bureau dropping cases. And
well, sir,
look, you're on FSOC with all the heads of these agencies. This should be a serious question to you. Trust should be a serious question and a serious issue for the financial services industry, especially as the Secretary of the Treasury. Well, that's an important. No, this is my time. I haven't asked any more questions. I haven't asked you any more questions,
It's the gentleman from Massachusetts.
I'm trying to get to my next question.
Could you speak a little louder? I can't hear you.
Yeah, okay. I might.
He's yelling at him, and Bessent goes, could you speak a little bit louder? I can't hear you. I got to take a break. I got to get to Maxine Waters here. Here's a very important lesson that we all can learn from Bessent, which is he is cool. When everybody else gets upset, he just sort of lowers his, just calm, collected, nonchalant. And the calmer you get, by the way, when somebody is coming at you hot, the angrier they'll get, and they'll just self-sabotage themselves. So Bessent knows this, and he's a pro, and he's thinking, it's just his brain is operating at a completely different level than these mental midgets. Sam Mirejovsky here on the What's Right Media Network, back in just a jiff. Back in just a moment.
The Sam and Ash team, they wanted me to have the best care. They had my interests at heart. I have an enormous amount of gratitude. I cannot say enough thank you.
Hi, Sam Mirejovsky here behind the What's Right microphone. Mirejovsky, by the way, people ask me, how do you spell that? Well, I know how to spell it. It's so funny. I'll spell it. It's Mirejov, and I always would say like Victor, so people would know. And then I say SKY, like sky, and that's because it's a Czech name. So typically the Czech names have a Y ending, and Polish names will have an I ending. So Mirejovsky. I remember there's a guy, Dean Adele, that was on the radio, a doctor, Dr. Dean Adele, remember him? And as a kid, I was listening to a lot of talk radio, and I heard Dean Adele, and I thought his name was Deanie Dell, because he would say his name so fast. And I was like, this guy's name is Deanie Dell. It's kind of a weird name. People were like, no, it's Dean Adele. So anyway, Sam Mirejovsky, there we go. Okay. Well, people have asked me about that. Then I send them an email back from my email address. They're like, oh, that's how you spell it. All right, folks, if you get in an accident, get injured, maybe your child, your niece, a family friend got butchered by one of these crazy trans doctors, and now they're an adult and they're going, what the hell happened? Something like that, all the way down to a regular auto accident. You think you can handle it on your own. You can't. You need a team that can help you get it done. You don't want to be stuck with the paperwork. There's hours upon hours on the most basic claim. And then, by the way, I'll tell you this story. I had somebody working here at the firm. By the way, I am the Sam of Sam and Ash Injury Law. There's a reason why it's not Mirejovsky and Watkins. Nobody could spell it, just as I was saying earlier. So samandashlaw.com. I have a story about a phenomenal legal assistant that worked with me for many years, and she knew the industry inside and out, okay? She knew how to do this. She knew how to write letters. She did functionally a lot of things for me and for other attorneys at my firm. Her father was killed in an accident. There's $100,000 of insurance. And she just thought, it's very straightforward. It's his insurance. They're going to be palms up with me. So she sends them a letter, and she knows everything. Everything. And she sends them a letter demanding a payment for this, wrongful death in this, it was a motorcycle accident. And they just, I'm going to say it, they just dicked her around. It was the most awful thing. I was watching from a distance, and I, wanted to be respectful. And then she finally, like 2-3 months later, comes to me and says, "Sam, I want the firm to take over the case." And so we worked out an arrangement. We took over the case. We wrote one letter, and they paid the money immediately. And that happens. And so people are going on ChatGPT, and they're actually learning sometimes wrong information, but a lot of good information. And ChatGPT writes these demand letters, and the insurance company gets it, and they laugh. And their next thought is, how are we going to screw you? And if you think I'm kidding about this, okay, give it a try. But I recommend you not. Sam and Ash Injury Law. In a crash, call Sam and Ash, 800-304-2000. 800-304-2000. Offices in Nevada and California. No recovery, no fee. Doesn't cost you any money up front or out of pocket. Never, okay? SamandAshLaw.com, because you deserve what's right. I'll tell you what's right as well. Not just Sam and Ash, but what Scott Bessent did today on the Hill. Can't stop talking about this. Maxine Waters. Maxine Waters is such a crook. Holy heck. I've been following. Maxine Waters was a seasoned politician when I was born. Okay? And she holds on to that district down in LA. And Robbie, does she even live in that district? I think one of the big scandals is there's no way. I mean, the district, it's a bad part of LA. Okay. I don't want to malign the good people that live there, but it's not the kind of place where a multimillionaire congresswoman, all self-made, by the way, wink, wink, would even pretend. There's always been that she's living with the daughter and the west side of the city. Whatever. Maxine Waters, but she's also just, I don't know. She's just such a low IQ, race baiting, hate monger. Okay. And it couldn't happen to a nicer person, getting absolutely destroyed by Trump's gay Treasury Secretary, who's my favorite person. Here's one of the moments where where Bessent, through his calmness, very important, through his calmness, got Maxine to burst.
The housing time was a mass unfettered immigration.
Mr. Chair, will you let him know that when I asked him
the time does belong to
the housing
woman
stock.
from California.
10 and 20 million immigrants
Can you
took
shut
up the
him
housing stock of working Americans, and can you maintain some level of dignity?
Gentleman's time has expired.
No, my time has not expired.
Your time has expired. The gentleman
took up my time. I think you should recognize that, Mr. Chair.
The gentlewoman's time has expired.
Told him to shut up. I mean, I know it's a small thing, but you don't do that in the House of Representatives. And it's not, this is the difficult thing. When you're on a committee, let me just explain this. When you're on a committee and you're interviewing a hostile witness, which in this case, you're a Democrat and you've got a member of the Republican administration sitting in front of you, and it's what we would call in court, right, as attorneys, we call a hostile witness. Somebody who's not helping you. They're not your person. You haven't been able to prep them. And they're doing everything to not answer your question. So you have two options. When it comes to Congress and you're in that situation, whether you're a senator or you're in the House of Representatives, particularly in the House where you have shorter time, you have two options. You either have to be really good at asking questions and then letting them speak and make fools of themselves, or you have to take that time and grandstand and talk. Basically, it's your time. The rules are that the witness, here the Treasury Secretary, if the Congresswoman is speaking, has to be quiet. So there are plenty of examples where the member of Congress decides to just grandstand and give sort of a mini speech. Okay, you're not answering my question. Here's what I think. And then da-da-da-da-da. And their social media person then takes that as a clip and sends it to all the media people, puts it online. It then makes its way into the real, and you can actually, gain public support as a Democrat, sticking it to the Trump people. But what you can't do is with these three fools, and I've played you 3 clips now, where they basically end up sounding dumb and not in control of their emotions. And that's why I give this as a win to Bessent, and I'm explaining it to the younger folks here, okay? If you're at the start of your career and you are thinking, and trust me, folks, I can be a hothead. And this is something that I have fought my entire life against, right? Because I get really worked up. If you want to beat that, the way to do it is the minute that you start feeling your temperature going up, just stop and take a breath. You just take a breath. And if that, one congressman from Massachusetts, or Ms. Maxine Waters would have just, all right, Mr. And then deliver your speech. Just deliver your speech, get your soundbite in, and move on. But this is just all so pathetic. Sam Mirejovsky here on the What's Right Media Network. Don't go anywhere. More of the What's Right show up next. Hi, welcome back. Sam Mirejovsky here on the What's Right Media Network. Sam at what'srightshow.com. Sam at what'srightshow.com. Always love getting your emails, folks, so that's where you can find me, at What's Right Sam on X. If you're on X, you want to be you do want to be on X, and you do want to be following me, so do that, at What's Right Sam. We were just talking about this on Monday. Hey, have you seen this viral? It's a tweet by a lawyer. And it was a joke. Okay, it was a joke, but it started to get all this traction. A lawyer who is an eviction lawyer out in LA has made quite a splash yesterday, last night, this morning, offering his services for free to the Tongva tribe to evict Billie Eilish from her house. Billie Eilish, the singer, on Sunday at the Grammys, decided to get up there and say that no one can be illegal on stolen land. So there's no such thing as an illegal immigrant in America because America's all stolen land. People quickly pointed out that her lavish multi-million-dollar Malibu mansion is itself on stolen land. It belonged to a tribe. And they found the tribe. So this lawyer offered to do it. Now, it was a joke, but it spawned all sorts of serious articles, including one, I think this was in the International Business Times. And I just want to tell you, just because you listen to this program, I want you to know that I am ahead of the curve. This was me on Tuesday. Billie Eilish is the idiot singer. I played the clip yesterday here on the program, where she said that no one is illegal on stolen land. How can you be illegal on land that was stolen by evil white people? Well, the Tongva tribe has come out claiming that Eilish's $3 million home, in fact, sits on their ancestral land. Billie Eilish, the average idiot from Hollywood, uses the slogan, doesn't think, and now, I could make an argument as an attorney that this could be perceived as an offer to settle with the Tongva tribe, an acknowledgement of their rightful claims, and maybe she needs to give her house up. Well, it's all broken out since, and I just want to tell you, that's why you listen to this program, staying abreast of things. By the way, Trump signed the new budget. That impasse ended yesterday, and there was this great throwaway moment that I absolutely I loved. I love this. Trump gives some praise to Lindsey Graham. I brought up Lindsey Graham earlier, not in a particularly nice way. We're calling Trump's moniker for him Lindsey Grahamnesty. And so yeah, Trump did not like what Lindsey Graham here said, where Graham likened Trump's successful administration to that of Ronald Reagan. Have a listen.
We had a great first term, rebuilt the military, biggest tax cuts ever, biggest regulation cuts ever. But, you know, I will say this, I think I can say, what do you think, Lindsey? My second term is blowing my first term away. And my first term was really good.
Reagan plus.
Reagan plus, yeah. Well, whatever. Thank you very much.
You can't. It's unmistakable Lindsey Graham. It's his voice. Reagan plus. And Trump just kind of looks down. He's like, yeah, Reagan plus. Whatever. And just, all right, folks, have a great. I love what Trump has done to the rotten Republican establishment. And folks, don't get me wrong. I love Ronald Reagan. Okay? But Ronald Reagan was the last time we had Republican greatness. And in a way, everybody that came after Reagan on the Republican side was a carny. Everybody talked, I'm a Reagan Republican. And what did we get? We got Bush 1. We got Bush 2. We got Obama in the end because the Republicans were all busy calling themselves, I'm Reagan this, and using the Reagan brand to basically advance a sort of a potash of centrist policy ideas, no vision for the country, huge military-industrial complex, fine, okay. But outside of that, a complete and utter capitulation in that era to the left. The last great thing that the Republican Party did under Reagan was cause the collapse of the Soviet Union and free millions of enslaved people. And after that, I don't know, a whole lot of compromising with Democrats, turning over our institutions to leftists, completely abandoning, I'm a libertarian. We're conservatives. We believe in laissez-faire, literally handing our country to radical leftists. If you read Christopher Rufo and others who have written extensively about the left's takeover of our institutions, you'll quickly be persuaded that it was the Republicans doing because they retreated and the vacuum was quickly filled by leftists who were traditionally better at organizing and mobilizing. And I blame the Reagan Republic. And so this is one of those moments where you see that there's a lot going on in Trump's brain that he doesn't necessarily put out there and articulate. This was a very candid, little snapshot moment where I know if you were to sit down with Trump in the room 10 minutes later and say, hey, explain that comment, explain why that bothered you, he would say something along the lines of what I just expressed, maybe exactly what I told you. You got people like Lindsey Graham living in the past. Reagan, yay! When we are taking back this country right now under Trump. I'm not thinking about Reagan anymore. Number one, it was 40 years ago, okay? And number two, we're undoing the mess that the Reagan Republicans have left behind. I really feel that very strongly. And I say that, by the way, I say that as a disenchanted Republican voter that in 20, I'm going to have to be nice here. Robbie. So, the show's moving to 6 p.m. because we're going to do a podcast. There's a podcast product where every weekday, we're going to do 40 minutes, a radio hour of programming. And if you get the podcast, find it, get it, subscribe, What's Right show. Nothing will change for you. It'll be half the time of the show, but we'll make it really pithy and high value. So you'll want to consume every minute of it. And you can go to Apple Podcasts, you can go to Spotify, you can go to any of these apps that have it, and it's there. It doesn't cost you anything, and you'll get it right first thing in the morning. You'll have it in your pocket, ready to go. And you can listen to it anytime during the day or in the evening. So I was finding out from the station who's going to replace me here in this time slot that I'm giving up. And they got some guy, and I don't even know his name. The first thing I looked up is his background, and he was never Trump Republican. I'm like, oh, good luck with this, good sir. Good luck. And I said, for all my faults, for all the times where I've gotten a little astray, I'm one of, the Trump people told me this. When Trump announced that he was running and he started collecting money, right at the very beginning, the first quarter, I was one of 380 or so Americans that gave the max. Because Trump walked on the stage, I was like, this is what the Republican Party has been waiting for. And everybody else, oh my God, Jeb? What the? No, full stop. This guy is the future of the Republic. This is unbelievable. And what did he talk about? He went down, he talked about repatriating jobs to the U.S. and the closing the border. His first rally was at the border. And so when Lindsey Graham and all these other Republicans that are stuck in yesteryear are like, oh, it's like Reagan plus. Trump's like, get the, I mean, literally annoyance that he would do this. Now, the left continues to double down on their crazy. This is a theme, right? They're following their business plan. And I remember when Mamdani came on the scene, and I started talking about him, and many of you, particularly those of you who live here in Las Vegas and follow the show locally, are telling me, well, Sam, it's a national issue. Who cares what happens in New York? Let them ruin it. Well, we're there. We're getting there. We're getting there, and this is going to be great news for Republican messaging in the era of Trump. Because something happened in New York. I got to tell you about this. It was a police shooting. This is too good to not bring up. I will be right back. Hang tight. Have I got a few clips for you that are going to blow your minds? Hi, Sam Mirejovsky here behind the What's Right microphone. Now, you would think that one of the top discredited things that the Democrats are doing, have done historically, right, is soft on crime. And I say top discredited things because it's manifestly obvious to anybody that has half a brain that if you go soft on crime, you go easy on criminals, you'll get more crime, you'll get more criminals, you'll get more recidivism. And slowly, the cities where this kind of nutso policy is enacted, slowly those cities kind of devolve into lawlessness, into blight, and eventually hit some form of death spiral. It's all pretty obvious. Now, they had this is just wild. There is a guy, he's 22 years old. His name is Jabez Chakraborty. Jabez Chakraborty. And he called 911 on the morning of, this was on the 26th of January. He said their son was in emotional distress. Then this Jabez guy basically came himself at the officers. And I don't really understand all the stuff that happened, but basically the officers show up and a guy has a knife. Now, the officers ended up shooting the guy with the knife because, well, we'll get there. That's what you do. You got a threat, take the threat out. I'm always in favor of law enforcement protecting themselves and also protecting threats from others, right? That's what you want. Cops show up, neutralize the threat. So Mamdani holds a press conference after this that he's gone and visited the perpetrator in the hospital. Listen.
So over the weekend, as you said, I spoke with the Chakraborty family and I visited Jabez in the hospital. And there is no family should have to endure this kind of pain. Jabez has lived with schizophrenia for many years, and this situation underscores just how urgently we need a different and more effective mental health response system that will be safer for New Yorkers who struggle with mental health concerns, for their families, and for police officers. Jabez needs mental health treatment, not criminal prosecution by a district attorney. An NYPD investigation into this incident is underway, and as you said, my administration will be releasing the body-worn camera footage from the first responding officers later today. We have known of the need of a Department of Community Safety prior to this moment. This only highlights the urgency of that need and to be able to deliver it for New Yorkers.
You know what this Department of Community Safety is? They're basically going to deploy social workers to deal with people who have mental health threats, or mental health issues, right? Instead of deploying cops. It's a huge left-wing liberal talking point. They're pushing this like mad. Imagine here for a minute that you have an adult child or a spouse or, I don't know, a stranger in trying to get into your house, let's say, and is armed with a gun or a knife, or maybe you don't even know that they have a knife or a gun, but they're trying to get into your house. And you call 911 to send police, and they bring out a big, fat social worker who's going to talk to them and de-escalate. Do you know what you would think in that moment? Because I know what I would think. I would think, holy I'm dead. That's what I would think. I'm like, this is it. This is it. I'm gone. I'm done. I got a social worker showed up. So they released the body camera footage. Oh boy. Oh boy. Let me play it here. So he walks into the house and he's coming out of the kitchen. Hold on, let me pause it. He's coming out of the kitchen. He's got a knife. Now there's a woman next to him, and she's trying to push him away, but he's now coming at the officers. He is probably, it looks like maybe 8 feet, maybe maximum 10 feet away from the officer, within lunging distance.
Put the knife down! Move!
Okay, now the officer retreats, is moving backwards. Put the knife down, put the knife down. You hear the commands. And there's an interior door that has glass panes in it, so it's not a secure door. And the officer closes it, but it doesn't appear to be locked, or you can't really lock it. So now the officer's in a hallway with this guy with the knife who's coming at the officer and is now just on the other side of this door, so within an arm's length from the officer.
Move! Put the knife down! Put the knife down! Put the knife down!
The guy opens the door.
Put the knife down! Drop the knife! Drop the knife!
Still has the knife.
Drop the knife!
Okay. I have a question for you. If somebody comes at you with a knife, do you care why they're doing it? I mean, that's the question, right? Because this is where the left loses me. Okay, more mental health. Right, we do have mental health problems, of course. Yeah, I mean, CNN doesn't help. But, okay, we have mental health problems. People are on drugs, schizophrenia, da-da-da-da-da, understood. But in that moment that somebody's attacking me with a lethal weapon, I don't really care why they're doing it. I couldn't care less. Do you know what I care about? I become extremely pro-life. My life, right? I care about me, my family, innocent life around me. I have a lunatic with a knife. I don't care if he has malice aforethought or he's just acting on spontaneous impulses that are going through his brain because he's so high on whatever drug he's on that he can't control himself. Do not care. Don't care. Sorry. This resulted in a very good question in the press conference because, he said, oh yeah, we're going to release the video, but this should never happen to a family out there. We're reviewing this big investigation, police involved. The cops are going to be put through the ringer by Comrade Mamdani. The cops are going to be put through the ringer when they did everything right. So here comes the question and the answer. The question's a little hard to hear. Let me see how it plays here, and I'll give you the gist of it if I need to.
I know that you talk about the fact that the police can respond in these instances if there's a weapon. But in this case, there wasn't a knowledge that there would be a weapon. There was, the charges were that he was breaking glass. And at the last minute when the cops came in, he pulled a knife out in the kitchen. So how do you determine when the police can arrive if the initial call doesn't say he's got a gun, he's got a knife? What do you do? And then if it turns violent, if a person's there without the ability to stop him, what happens?
Okay, so the question is, all right, so you want to send out social workers, okay? How do you determine when you actually need police with guns? Like, what if the initial call says a person's going crazy and yelling, and then once you get out there, you realize they have a knife? What do you do? It's a very basic question. Notice how Mamdani, the leftists, all do this. A lot of words, not one single concrete example of anything.
So I think there's a few things to say here. One is a lot of this is exactly the focus of the conversations that we're having internally in developing out this Department of Community Safety. Additionally, I want to make clear that a person experiencing a mental health episode does not always have to be served first or exclusively by a police officer. It is important for us to have all of the options available, and that's exactly what we're looking at.
New York, you are screwed. I don't know how else to put it. I wish we could be in a place, I wish New York could just set up a zone for the social workers and put all the people that voted for Mamdani into that one zone, in that one area, and you just let the psychos kill the Mamdani voters. Like, you voted for it, you know, you did it, you wanted this. You don't think cops with guns should show up to deal with psychotic people who can kill you? Okay, no problem. Go live there. Put them all in one area, wall it in, okay? And, you know, and just live with the consequences. You know, I want to live in the part of town where police show up with guns and can neutralize a threat if they come and try to take my life. I don't know. It seems so basic. This is just one little thing. This is so out of touch with the mood of the country. And this guy is not ready for prime time. He is not. Mamdani is not, and he is the standard bearer of the Democratic Party. This is a guy who is the greatest hope the Democrats have, and he is going to blow it all up. Get your popcorn ready, kids. It's going to be epic. Sam Mirejovsky here on the What's Right Media Network. I'll see you tomorrow.